that may... Mike, looks like we need to switch the sides. Danny's actually on top, and Tim's on bottom. So we have a Veteran Explorer go from Danny, getting the clock started. Life loss is very important against the Reanimator deck because they have Reanimate, which costs a ton of life.
Oh, and show and tell, as we see.
Yeah, I guess if you want to reanimate Grizzlebrand and then pay life to draw cards off of Grizzlebrand, that costs a total of 15 life. So, starting off with a 1-1, solid start by Danny. Here's a hapless researcher. Um, I think it's like mostly as an instant speed way of getting cards to the graveyard. I never
Yeah,
fully
but
understood.
would you block now with the
Would you
researcher
block?
if you need mana from either side?
Um, that's a good question. Like, the block gives you a shuffle, so it's not completely out of the question to block the Veteran Explorer, crack the Lowest Pedal to Brainstorm, and then get the shuffle and 2 basic lands off of the Veteran Explorer, and then be able to reanimate something the next turn. Uh,
Still no guys, no
yeah,
reanimated targets.
yep. It looks like Danny's just going to hold up the Abrupt Decay. He's going to Abrupt Decay at the end of turn so that he gets 2 additional mana sources on his turn that Tim can only use on his end step. Here's another Brainstorm, and
Ooh,
this one
there's a
hits.
Grizzlebrand.
Yep, there's a Grizzlebrand.
And that will come into play right away.
Yeah, so if you're Tim, you're just doing this line of play of sacrificing and reanimating.
Should be interesting if he decays now.
Yeah, it looks like Danny's going to have the opportunity to decay his own Veteran Explorer and then Swords to Plowshares the Grizzlebrand if that's what he wants to do.
Certainly attacking with it, hoping to have it blocked is not the way to go here.
um, so there's the Abrupt Decay. I assume Tim is playing 2 basics. There's or at least a basic island. There's very little to be lost. Okay, yeah, so he does have 2 basics. Danny's probably going to get 2 planes so he can play out that... Oh man, Gideon is so embarrassing against this deck. It's just unreal how embarrassing it is.
Oh, he went for the island to have at least one of each.
Wait, he has an island also? What's going on?
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell you what he's playing now.
um, so Danny drew a second Bayou, I believe, which proves to us that he's not actually playing a. He could be. Yeah, he can't be playing a cube deck because there are 2 Bayous. So that's the first duplicate. Unless
Exactly,
someone
yeah.
has. Yeah.
He's cheating.
Yeah, he snuck a second Bayou in his cube deck there.
And we have one player at 2 life.
And he's casting Pernicious Deed. Okay, so it looks like
It's a
Danny
Hail
cast.
Mary.
Yeah, Danny cast Swords to Plowshares on the Grizzlebrand, but Tim drew 7 cards with Grizzlebrand's ability, found a Force of Will, and was able to counter it.
Yeah, and he's loaded with creatures now.
Yes.
He
He's
can
going
show
to
and
gain.
tell Elish Norn on his own turn if he wants to.
Yes, he's going to gain 7 life just by attacking. Oh, no, looks like he's going to start off with a Careful Study. Is he going to Exhume now? Ooh, I'm not sure I like this. It's probably fine. Don't get me wrong, but it gives back the Veteran Explorer, giving Danny 2 extra mana sources, so he can get up to 8 with the Pernicious Deed and sacrifice and blow up Grizzlebrand and Elishnorn.
Yeah, that's not good.
It may not matter because Tim's just going to be able to draw so many cards, and he has more reanimation spells. But it's kind of scary.
And so very quickly, they're both at 11, and Danny is really up against the wall.
Yeah, it looks like he has a Gideon. Oh, we've got the hand switched. He has got Gideon, and Tim
Another
doesn't
one.
have any counter magic, but he definitely has to spend this turn doing nothing but Pernicious Deed for 8.
Yeah. And we see both Animate Dead and Exhume being reanimation spells that doesn't cost life on the other side of the board.
Yes. So at the very least, um, Tim's going to have another Grizzlebrand in play. I think Grizzlebrand is the play here. He
Yeah.
can draw 7 and hope to get
Oh,
another
you can just get
counterspell.
both of them.
Um, yeah, I guess so. Oh, he's going for Reanimate. Interesting. What if?
Why does he reanimate?
Yeah, I don't know about Reanimate. Like, maybe he's worried about some enchantment removal for
Sure. But
if he
he's
goes
getting
for
two
Rika.
guys, and his
Wait.
opponent is at 11, so
He's okay. So he's reanimating the veteran explorer
this
so that when
makes.
he casts
He's just
Exhume.
being silly now, I guess.
I'm not entirely sure that's being silly though. Well, yeah, it's probably being silly.
But I like this as a cover against Innocent Blood. That would have been so annoying.
Tim's going to draw cards in response. He finds a force.
Alright, so he
Um,
can go to 2 again.
yeah, and
So
then
irrelevant.
Danny's going to play out the Gideon. But the knight. Oh no, he just lets it resolve. Sacrifices the veteran explorer.
Yeah. Well, this match definitely has taken longer than I would have thought. So there is that.
Yeah, I wonder what all the blue mana is in Danny's deck is for. You think it's
Uh,
for counter magic out of the sideboard or
I think he plays
something?
Narset, maybe.
Narset? What does Narset do? Can Narset find other planeswalkers? Does it say like on the +1? Does it say non-creature spells?
No, I cannot find Planeswalkers, as far as I remember.
Uh, okay. Well, maybe it just has. I really don't know. I was considering playing blue in my veteran explorer deck, but not for Narset. Okay,
Look at the
here's
top card of your library. If it's a non-creature, non-land card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand.
Oh, so you can find other planeswalkers with
Sure, but find is relative. You can, if it's on the top of your library, you can find it. Yeah.
it. So we got a chance to see the rest of Tim's deck list. Looks like he has an Ione. I think he put an Ione in the graveyard. I can't actually see. But he's going to Exhume, getting back Elish Norn, and that's going to clear the way for Grizzlebrand. Although he's at 3 life, I guess he can just take down the Gideon this turn, um, and then deal a finishing blow to Danny on the following turn.
But yeah, does he even need to do that? Yeah, but he's so much in control. It's
Well,
almost irrelevant what he does by now.
did he just wait? What? Did he reanimate a veteran explorer again?
Yes, he cannot exhume it, so he did that again. Yes.
I see. Um, so here's Elishnorn. Yeah, okay. So I guess he's just going to attack
Yeah.
Gideon, gain a bunch of life, and then have Force of Will for whatever Danny draws. Is there?
Exactly. He's so much in charge.
Yeah. Can you think of any card in Magic that gets Danny out of this?
Chroma's Vengeance.
A Chroma's Vengeance, but there's a Force of Will, so it has to be an uncounterable spell.
Yeah, we don't have those.
um, Supreme Verdict would at least destroy all the creatures.
Yes. And there would then be. Oh yeah, he doesn't actually have another reanimation spell because he used a Veteran Explorer. That silly goose.
Okay, so it looks like Tim reanimated Iona as well. So he has all of his 3 super legendary friends. I don't know
And it
what he
looked
named.
like Danny really is playing Cube.
Uh, he's got mismatched brainstorm, so that doesn't count against the one of each card, right? If you've got a Ice Age brainstorm and a Vintage Masters brainstorm, that's okay, right?
And there is Oath of Nissa.
Oath of Nissa. I guess Oath of Nissa can find planeswalkers. Man, this is really quite the homebrew. We'll have to see if it can beat anything in our mediocre league. First two Quickens get counter and Quicken verdict, but Quicken only draws a card if it isn't countered. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, brainstorm. Okay, so had Danny drawn Ulamog, he would have actually been able to go land Ulamog, but he would have died to his opponent has 2 attackers and he only has 1 blocker. Or yeah, okay. So, unsurprisingly, Tim was able to take that first game. Let's see what's in their sideboards.
I see Surgicals coming in.
Surgical seems like a good idea against the reanimation deck.
And Counter Magic, Forces.
And it looks like he does have 4 forces. Now, it looks like Danny's only playing 12 blue cards. No, sorry. He's playing 12, 15 blue cards. So, I suppose he feels that's enough to cast 4 Force of Wills with.
Yeah, and I'm very interested to see on the other side of the board if all the show and tells are staying in there against a deck that plays, you would assume, a lot of things that cost a lot of mana.
Yeah, but show and tell doesn't let you put in Planeswalkers.
I know this, but facing Danny's deck, you might expect there to be something big in there other than a Planeswalker.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Danny even has negate, like standard sideboard staple negate.
Yeah. Well, it's good against just about any card in Tim's deck.
Oh, but it doesn't counter Grave Titan.
Very true. Would you keep in the Pithing Needle?
I'm seeing that Danny's 4 colors. I'm like skeptical that he has. Oh, so are you saying that for Danny or
for
Tim?
Danny.
Both...
For Danny.
I
Because
don't know.
if he doesn't bring it in, it's also him saying, well, he's not gonna get a Griselbrand into play.
That's true. It's hard to say. I think I would keep it in. Like, there's probably something else that you can cut that is worse than Pithing Needle. Just like something that does less than Pithing Needle.
Yeah.
For Tim though, like oftentimes Reanimator will bring in Pithing Needle for Caracas, but seeing that Danny's mana base consists of 4 colors already, he might not be playing Caracas. I can't read.
Yeah, it's too
my view
small
is
for
too
me
small.
to tell.
Yeah.
Well, it will be interesting to see these games 2 and 3 because they're likely to be way more interactive with all the sideboarding that we've seen.
Yes, graveyard hate is something that often comes in games 2 and 3 and is not in the deck in game 1.
And we saw also the forces, so there will be interaction, not just Tim playing whatever he wants.
Yes. So looks like Tim's going to start off with a careful study, I think. I guess he can go either careful study or brainstorm. Might as well go careful study, right? Puts the Ashen Rider in the graveyard. Danny's hand is actually pretty good. It's got Cabal Therapy, Forcible, and Invasive Surgery. I'm surprised he didn't fire off that Cabal Therapy turn 1, but I suppose he wants to play Cabal Therapy and Explorer on the same turn.
Or
This
he can just
actually...
play. There's a solid play of just Explorer Go. That's one.
I don't think anything bad's going to happen to that Explorer. But this is actually going to work out pretty well for Danny, I think. He gets to Therapy twice this turn, and he still has Brainstorm, Forcible, Invasive Surgery in his hand. So here's the... Let's see if he knows if he has the perfect Cabal Therapy. Well, actually, he's going to get both Exhumes no matter what.
What would you say here on the first therapy?
I almost always say Brainstorm on the first therapy if I know I'm playing against a Brainstorm deck. But if he doesn't name Brainstorm, actually, before the second therapy resolves, while it's still on the sack, and after the Veteran Explorer's ability triggers, Tim can Brainstorm to hide or to change the contents of his hand. he has an opportunity to do so before Cabal Therapy resolves for the second time.
Yeah, that's a neat little trick.
So he named Exhume. Wow.
And well done.
Yeah.
Now it gets interesting.
Yeah. Here I would definitely brainstorm. But the brainstorm
No.
could get countered by Force of Will, and
Yeah,
then Invasive
I would
Surgery
take the
could take care of
reanimate
the
because
Reanimate.
now your opponent needs everything. I wouldn't be too scared of that Ashen Rider either. If that came through, it wouldn't be the worst creature.
That's true. An Ashen Rider would basically just be a 5/5 flyer. Ashen Rider says when it dies, right? So if it gets hit by Swords to Plowshares, it doesn't exile anything, right?
Well, I think it leaves. The old
Okay.
one dies.
So it looks like Danny's letting the brainstorm resolve, and he names. He hasn't named a card yet. I would have just countered that if you counter the brainstorm and then hit reanimate with therapy, then your opponent basically has nothing. You still have an invasive surgery and you have a swords to plowshares.
Yeah,
So looks like he named careful study and he hit again. Wow.
that's
So
that's so lucky.
yeah, that is quite that's pretty hard to believe.
Maybe Tim is a bit on tilt now. Let's see if that affects his play.
um, yeah. Well, is he going to go for it here? Like all he has is an Ashen Rider, right? Is
Yeah.
it really beneficial to go for it?
Well, I think he needs to try to do something, make something happen. He can't just wait. But clearly, Danny should have countered his brainstorm there.
Okay,
Now
so we've
his
got invasive
options.
surgery on reanimate, and it's just envelop. There's no delirium. The reanimates are still going to be around. Um, and now Tim's going to exhume the Ashen Rider. You know what? If I'm Danny, I actually let this through and just swords to plowshares it. Wow, he goes ahead and does forcible. Um, because Tim could have a reanimation target that you can't swords to plowshares, like Iona or Grizzlebrand is still good even if they
Oh,
cast swords to plowshares. Ooh.
and if he gets to untap now,
Yeah, if he,
he will be so in the driver's seat.
yeah, and
Oh,
Tim just draws a
that
force.
that's the defining turn.
Yep, and so Glen Elendra will be able to counter 2 reanimation spells. And I have to imagine that that's just going to be the game. It's just going to attack several times. Danny's going to find something else, and then he's just going to win. Tim's firing off the reanimate here. That halves the damage from Glen Elendra, but there's another force.
Yeah, kids, now you know. Pick Glen Lender the next time you're cubing.
Yep. Tim plays his polluted delta. He's 1 mana closer to hardcast Force of Will, and Danny can hardcast his Force of Wills.
Yeah, Tim has no chance to come back.
Well, it is not looking good for Tim, but on the other hand, he's only being attacked 1 per turn.
Sure.
Tidespout Tyrant. Okay. Yeah, I think Danny would have to screw up pretty hard here in order to lose this game, even though he only has 1 power on the board right now. Um, Tim would just have to fight through 2 counterspells as it stands, and now there's a surgical extraction. Um,
Yeah, but
so
it's interesting how the veteran explorers are almost irrelevant now.
if you ever
After
play
after sideboarding, the pace of the game changes so much.
maybe, but so 1 explorer died this game, right? Or maybe not.
Yes, one.
Uh, oh, okay. So oftentimes when you're playing Nick Fit, you need the first explorer because you need the 2 lands, and then you don't want any other explorers. So anytime
But
you play Nick Fit, the second explorer is just so embarrassing. Like
in
you're
this cube,
yeah.
in this cube type, whatever we want to call it, this interesting type of Nick Fit, where he then in this matchup boards out so many things. Are the explorers still good enough?
That's a good question. I mean, at the very least, it's a creature to flashback Cabal therapy with.
Well, that's almost all it is.
Yeah, it gets you closer to hard casting Force of Will.
That, yeah, well, I'm not
I
sure
I am
that's much of an argument, really, but you are bringing up all the good points that there are.
yeah, I'm trying to make truthful statements, but not necessarily helpful ones.
You manage that.
Yay. Okay, so Tim's going to entomb here. What do you entomb for here?
Yeah, well, it depends on how much he knows about what his opponent holds.
Can we get? Oh wait, what happened? Mike, can we get a shot of what Tim entombed for? Elish Norn? There's
Yeah,
an abrupt
that
decay
would
on
buy him
the
time.
Explorer. So the abrupt decay on the veteran explorer. Here's a brainstorm. So Danny's taking the opportunity of a shuffle effect to brainstorm and um, get a better hand. Although I thought his hand was pretty good as it was.
Yeah, this is just the nuts. Has to put back about there, but he needs a blue to pitch.
Okay, so he's taking or putting back the Swords to Plowshares. I suppose he's reasonably confident at this place that either Jace or his counter magic will be able to take care of any
Yeah,
attempts to.
in response, surgical extraction as well. So.
Oh yeah, the surgical. Yeah, Danny has a lot going for him right now.
Yeah, and Tim needs to line up multiple reanimation spells to have much of a chance. He might even, if he knew
Yeah.
that there was a surgical extraction, he would even have to go for initially reanimating the wrong target in hopes of Danny playing the surgical extraction on it.
Yeah, I think Exhume would be his best shot, right? Because surgical doesn't necessarily stop Exhume. So, how do you feel about Tim having his dazes still in post board?
Um, I think that makes sense,
You
but
do?
I guess I don't think he has that much to take out,
Mm-hmm.
and it buys him that time in the opener. Yeah, right at first, if he wants to bring out a creature really quickly, then he'll need the dazes as well. I mean,
Okay.
if there was something else that he could have used, it would be something like pithing needle. So if he didn't bring in all of his needles, then that might be better than dazes.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in the game, it looks really embarrassing, right? Danny has enough mana to hardcast uh, Ulamog and I don't think it's going to counter anything of consequence. Oh, now he has enough to counter the first Kozilek, right? First Kozilek cost 11. Darksteel Colossus. Anyway. Looks like Danny used his Jace as Force of Will bait to stick a Narset. Um, well,
And it's already up to 8.
yep. Danny is attacking for 1 a turn, and soon he will counter the first spell that Tim plays every turn.
And hopefully That will then lead to Tim conceding,
Hopefully
so
that'll
that
be
we can get to the final game.
enough. Yeah, watch a game that hasn't already been determined.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
unfortunately, Tim doesn't know how far away from doing anything
yeah,
impactful
he's
he
playing
is.
against two hard cast Force of Wills, a Surgical Extraction, and two Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, and an uncountable counterspell sitting on them.
Oh, it says that. Sorry, I have Narset's ultimate wrong. It would mean that Tim can't cast non-creature spells at all.
Yeah, which would make it pretty hard to win.
Yes, it would be very difficult. Although against the Glen Elendra negate plan, why not just hard cast a Grave Titan? Why not?
Sure. Did he just entomb something else again?
Yeah, it looks like he entombed a Grizzlebrand. Not quite sure what his
Which he
plan
already
is.
had one off there.
I,
Okay.
yeah, I suppose he's actually
But
going to go for the trying to draw a Grave Titan, which doesn't beat the board. Or sorry, Grave Titan wouldn't be countered by the board, but would be countered by the Force of Will, and then dealt with Swords Splashes. Okay, on to game 3.
and there's an Iona sitting in Tim's board.
Yeah, I don't know. Considering Danny's playing a 4-color deck, I'm not sure how effective Iona is.
Yeah, I
I guess
think
you
it
can.
might be better than Elis Norn.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Probably better than Elish Norn. He brought in Abrupt Caves for that last game, but it didn't seem to be very useful. I guess um, Danny could easily be using permanent based hate, and he's just using spell based hate, like surgical extraction, swords of plowshares. So Abrupt Decay gets a lot worse. Do you see any cards in Tim's sideboard that you'd bring in?
I think the Thoughtseize is um you could make a case for Thoughtseize here.
I agree. How about Lotus Petals? Do you think you need Lotus Petals in this matchup?
No,
Your
I don't think
opponent's
no.
your
Your opponent is
opponent's
is very slow and has a lot of ways to react to the things that you are doing. So you don't really want to go glass cannon and
yeah,
just
I think
go
I would
at the disadvantage.
Daniel or sorry, Mike giving everyone a close-up shot of my face. Okay, so it looks like Tim Mulligan down to 6 cards. We can't see one of them, but I understand why. That's kind of obnoxious. On the other hand, Danny also mulliganed. He has 3 4 drops, at least 3 4 drops in his hand. Oh, he has 4 4 drops in his hand in Oath of Nissa. If you're
Yeah,
Danny, do you
that
take
looks
this?
horrible.
Oh,
Oh, when he goes for 5. Oh, 4. This will be equally brutal, but probably the other way around.
I think this 4 is better than that 6 card hand.
Yeah, look how good those daisies are.
Yeah, especially with the dazes, that would have been pretty rough. Okay, so Tim isn't doing anything very quickly yet either. He's just going to discard he's just going to discard a Grizzlebrand and a land. Um,
But why only? Oh yeah, so if he gets show and tell off the top, he can get
yeah,
jealous.
yeah, he wants a creature in hand for the show and tell plan.
Daze the first one here.
Danny's going to Cabal Therapy.
I'm gonna say yes. You want to daze it just to stop the information.
Um, yeah, I think in the dark. Well, actually, I'm not too sure. What did he name? Name card is plus reanimate. Okay, and because that is something that can just happen. Like, with no you don't have any good targets. Oh, and here's an animate
Oh,
deck. This
that's a
game
good
is
top deck. It's over,
that was
Anakin.
yeah. And he's probably just going to draw some cards here with Grizzlebrand. Not yet. Okay. Well, anyway, so I actually think that not dazing there was fine by Tim. First of all, it let him cast the two mana reanimation spell on the next turn, and second of all, his hand just didn't have anything that he would be a problem if he discarded. Okay, so Danny has the good old no blue mana brainstorm hand.
And he's only facing down a couple of days.
Yeah, I think there's no reason to daze that Oatham Nissa. Danny, I guess he knows about the daze, but playing a land before the Oatham Nissa, I'm not sure if that's necessary. Like, if it's a blue land, perhaps you could brainstorm and try to hit a surgical. I don't know. That's. It's over, Anakin. I had the high ground. God, that movie's dialogue was so bad. Okay, Tim looks like he's going to cast a Reanimate on Tidespout Tyrant, and now he's going to bounce all of Danny's lands. And
And
that's
that's
it.
it. Yeah.
Well, that was a
So
bit.
it pretty much went the way we predicted, but it didn't go the way we predicted. So the end result was probably what we expected, right?
Yeah, I would say that Danny's going to have a hard time against most decks in the league. It looks like Julian's coming in for some additional commentary.
Hey
Um,
guys.